Good morning. I call the Wright County Board of December 1st, 2015 to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And good morning. Just for the public's information, we do have a public hearing at 9:30 today, so we'll be interrupting the board meeting and cut away to that, and then return after the public hearing is done.
And then also, they'll be able to join us tonight, too.
Oh, yeah, tonight.
6 p.m.
6 o'clock.
Right, Truth and Taxation.
Yep, and that'll also be live streamed, too.
Okay.
For the first time we've done that, I think. Won't it?
Second, I believe.
Oh, second?
Last year we did
I
it?
think we did it last
We did
time.
last year as well.
Okay, the minutes of November 24th. Any questions, corrections, additions?
Chair, I will move the minutes from last week.
I'll second it.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Houston, second by Commissioner Delyden. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Review and approval of agenda. Is there anything anybody wishes to add to the agenda?
Mr. Chair, yes, I would like to add under items for consideration, discussion to have a meeting of negotiation committee of the whole.
Okay, that'll be item B. Anything else? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda
Addition.
as amended.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Delyden, second by Commissioner Burrell. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Consent agenda. Anything on the consent agenda anybody wishes to pull for further discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Delyden, second by Commissioner Burrell to approve the consent agenda as presented to us.
I do have one clarification. Item F, we authorize my participation in the 2016 first-time home buyers program. That's something we've been doing for many years, isn't it?
We've done it for over 15 years.
Okay.
It's
That's
been
what I
a
thought.
Good program.
Yeah, so I want to make sure.
We're fairly active participants in that also.
This kind of strengthens what Wright County Community Action does with what they do up there. Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. 9:05, good morning, Bob Hevelow.
Hey, good morning, Board. The first item on the agenda is a housekeeping item. We usually set the last day that we will process claims to charge against the current year budget. I'm recommending that we set that cutoff on December 22nd at 3 o'clock. That should give us enough time to process those claims and have a listing in your board packet. So, once you set it, then I can let the departments know.
Commissioner Houston.
I will make a motion to approve that.
Second.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Houston, second by Commissioner Swatsky, to approve the final cutoff for claims at 3 p.m. on December 22nd. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Commissioners, it's my privilege to have Terry Heaton here. Remember, she is from Springstead. Terry's going to go over the recommendations. The recommendations that they drafted were based off of actions you've taken. So she has the list of events that are going to happen, and then in the end, she's going to ask you to adopt a resolution. So here's Terry Heaton from Springstead.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Bob. Good morning, Chair Potter and members of the commission. I'm Terry Heaton with Springstead. And this handout in your packet is what I'll be just walking through quickly. And that is the plans for the upcoming bond sale of a $7,040,000 GO Capital Improvement Plan Bond, Series 2016A. And the key events are today to authorize proceeding with the information that is going to be discussed today. And the sale would then occur at 1 o'clock on January 11th, with the results brought back to you that following morning for approval, so you could award the bonds to the low bidder. And the bids will be taken competitively, just as you did last time. There is a little chart that's on the first page that shows interest rates, and as you can see, they're still holding. And you look in the 5-year pattern, they're still holding. They're very low. We talked last time I was out about selling December versus January, and hoping that the January supply is low. And so we are looking at trying the trick that you mentioned Mr. Thistle used to try, and all indications are that we don't see anything that would cause an abrupt increase in the rates, and certainly the timing looks fabulous, so we'll keep our fingers crossed on that. The purpose, and I think you've talked about this before, is to complete the $17 million total funding needed for the Public Works facility. You just issued bonds in the fall that generated $10,095,000. And this will provide the remaining $6.9 million to complete that funding. So along with issuance costs and rounding, it rounds up to $7,040,000. You have held the public hearing September 25, authorizing this. Capital Improvement Plan bonds require that hearing, so that's been taken care of for both bond issues. And we have structured them based on feedback at the last meeting, and so the bonds are repaid over 20 years. And our estimated interest rate at this time is 2.91%. And so there is a little bit of, a few extra basis points for a little bit of market movement in there, and so we'll see where that land. And of course, the actual interest rate will be the result of the bids that you receive on that day. We've looked at your capacity, and I think it's just important, to note that there is a limit on capital improvement plan bonds that would put a max at your principal and interest of about $15 million. Your two capital improvement plan bonds that you have outstanding will be $1.5 million. So you're using very little of that capacity. You would have a remaining $13.7 million of annual debt surplus you can have. And I just mentioned that so you realize that you've got plenty of authority to do this and capacity. And I think with that, there is a resolution. That's just a summary of this. There is a resolution that basically encapsulates all the information from the recommendation, and by adopting it, you would authorize staff, Springstead, and all the bond attorneys and so forth to proceed with the sale on your behalf. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Mr. Chair, and this is the bank qualified sale.
This is thank you, I should have mentioned
Correct.
that.
Correct.
Yes, the decision was made to go with a bank qualification, and along with that, any refundings that you would want to do in addition to this, if they exceed, you can go up to $10 million this year. This will take up $7 million of capacity. You could do something for $3 million the rest of the year, but then the refunding would have to wait until October and November and close in January.
2017. Correct. I believe that was, hopefully it was fully understood by everybody up here when we went bank qualified. And we don't have any bonds that are callable in 2016 anyway, so it didn't really, that wasn't going to come into play per se. A couple of them we have that are on the end of, towards the end of life, don't have a call date, so we've just got to play them out.
That's correct.
Any questions?
So do we have an actual resolution then to approve, Brian? I'll make a motion to approve the resolution as recommended.
I'll second it.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Swatsky, second by Commissioner Delighten. Any discussion? None, roll call vote. Commissioner Burrell?
No.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution passes 4-1. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll see you in January.
Thank you.
Hey.
And it better be good news.
9:10, Mr. Mark Tice.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. Got a few items today for you. First one being to authorize signatures on the I got a typo. Imagine that.
16.
2016 park caretaker agreement with Greenview Incorporated. The agreement provides Wright County with contract caretakers at BB Lake, Otsego, Clearwater Pleasant, Bertram Channel Lakes, Robert Nye, and Fairhaven Mill. The total cost of the contract is within our 2016 budget figure. Susan has 3 copies for original signatures. We've been doing this before my time here, so a long time. They provide us great service at these high-use parks, doing the routine maintenance activities at a relatively, I shouldn't say bargain basement price because it's not, but at a good value. It's a good value for the county.
Value for what we're getting.
So Mark, I presume the terms and conditions are similar to what we approved in the budget process?
Yes, they, the bottom line, if you do all the hours and the fees come to within our budget figure that we
I'll move the contract.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Swatsky. Is
I'll
there a second?
second.
Second by
Second that.
Commissioner Hewson. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, thank you. Do I have to wait till 9:15 or can I
No,
continue?
close enough.
Okay,
9:15-ish. It's close.
okay. Wright
No, I
County
will
Park-
make them wait.
The Wright County Park Commission had their meeting on Monday, November 16th, 2015. As part of their meeting, they have 4 recommendations or points of concern for you. As you know, over the past few years, year and a half, we've been working with Franklin Township on a township park that they are hoping to acquire in Franklin Township, own, operate, maintain, and develop township responsibilities. The county board authorized a maximum of $114,000 in funding to Franklin Township out of the park dedication funds. On March 31st, you met in a regular session, you approved that we move forward with the land appraisal. We've done that with Franklin Township. That appraisal has come back. It was shared with our Parks Commission. The Park Commission looked at that appraisal and just wanted to, I can't remember where I put that, give a recommendation to the county board after review of the appraisals that they believe the county's contribution for these funds for the acquisition should not exceed the appraised value of the property, which was $63,450. I know Franklin Township is in negotiations right now with the landowner, and that would be a good, if that's something you concur with, that we give that type of information to them. I should do that as soon as possible so that they're aware of where the county board stands with the funds.
I think it would help the township out, having that information, wouldn't it?
It'd help them out tremendously.
Can you say it again? So the Park Commission saying the land is worth $63,450?
That's what the appraised value came back at.
So does that mean that we would give them up to $63,450 out of that fund?
Correct. Out of the $114,000 that you
Okay.
said was for acquisition and development. That would give the township a line that says, okay, if it's over that price and we agree to it, township would have to come up with their own funds rather than using county funds.
So then
I know in the past, when the county's done acquisitions, we've stayed pretty tried and true to that appraised value. There was a few instances where we may have paid a couple % higher or a couple % lower, but we try not to veer too far away, and that's what the Park Commission's concern was if the township agreed to a higher price than the appraised value, because they have $114,000 in that we
It would make a difficult decision for us to justify that.
Right. They'd come back and say, we negotiated at a higher than appraised value, and y'all would be looking at each other saying, we don't agree with that. So the Park Commission wanted to make a recommendation to you.
If it was lower, though, I don't think we would have a problem.
It'd be okay.
Yeah.
So if let's say it's $5,000 higher, then the township can buy it, but they pay the $5,000 difference?
That's what the Park Commission's
Okay.
recommending, yes.
And then the cost of the appraisal, is that being paid out of the $114,000?
It was, yes.
Okay, and that's separate from this, so that's in addition to the $63,000?
Correct.
Okay.
So we have a statute that doesn't allow us to go over an appraised value.
Not a statute, it's just been common practice by the
Oh,
county board.
common practice.
Yes. They're pointing at you now.
Well, is some of those grants we have, we can't, the grant won't go more than the...
The grant will go 10% higher than appraised value,
Okay.
but then it's your decision if you wanted to pay more or not,
Okay,
as a local.
that's how that works,
government
okay.
unit.
So it's real similar to what, the guidelines that we have.
That we have with grants that when we
Right.
acquire property, yes. Except that the park commission didn't say 10% greater value.
Okay.
Well, we want to stay consistent with what we've been doing.
Yeah,
Because that's the way we've always done it.
yeah.
All right, you got me on that one. In this situation,
But it makes sense though, because if they came in and said we're gonna pay $120,000 and, you know, because that's how much money we had, or 119, that's how much money we had, and they just did a poor job of negotiating, this is something that will actually benefit them in the long run.
Right.
Because it does give some guidelines on where they should be at, so.
And Mr. Chair, Mark, this is a township park as opposed to a county park.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, we'll
Just to-
have, once the acquisition's
Yeah.
done, we'll assist with them in planning and development, but the only funds that come from the county, besides the park dedication funds,
Right, yeah,
is my time.
okay.
yeah, and this is money that was provided to Franklin Township as
Right.
development occurred.
And we would want to give them as much guidance as we could and help them, because it's still, even though it's a township park, it benefits everyone in that area of the county too.
Yes, and they've asked for our assistance in administration of this process.
Any other questions, Pat?
Well, we have an expert on staff, so I think we should allow them to use it.
I'm not here today.
Do you need a motion for that then, Mark, or?
I would think that would have to have a motion, Mr.
Yeah,
Kelly.
appropriate action.
Okay,
This is just for number one.
That's item
just
one.
item number one. You want that separate, or you want to do it, let's do it separate.
Separate is a
Mr. Chair.
better way to do it.
Mr. Chair, regarding item number one, I'll make a motion that we approve the recommendations of the Park Board.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Motion is been made by Commissioner Burrell, second by Commissioner Glyden to approve the item number one in the action plan about the purchase of the property in Franklin on a cost of the appraisal of not to exceed $63,450. Is that what we're all understanding here?
I have a question, Mark, was there any negotiations in advance between the township and the property owner? Had they come to a number in this?
I don't believe so.
Okay, so this process to a great extent will help them create the number in the first place?
Yep, I know they're talking
Okay.
right now back and forth, and I think they just need a little.
Yeah.
And Commissioner Burrell's aware, I think he's had some calls from people in the township, so I think you're aware that they
Well,
need a little guidance.
And I don't know where, some of them, I think, are imagining what's going on, and then they call and, how could they be paying that much? And I'm like, how do you know how much they're paying when I don't know, and I'm kind of in the loop a little bit more than, so there's some rumors going around, and I think this will help things too, so.
Okay. Motion is made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Item number two, Mr. Chair, in 2006, Wright County entered into a life estate with the Lone Potter on 6.82 acres adjacent to Robert Nye Regional Park. As of September 1st, 2015, the life estate was executed. Brian did what do you call that thing? An affidavit of execution. So that's been signed and sent to the recorder's office. There's a lot of cleanup on that property that needs to be completed, removal of a house and some outbuildings, things like that.
This just right at the end, right at the edge of, right where our existing building, or,
Right past the nature center
Yeah,
parking lot.
Just north, isn't it?
That would actually be east.
East, I think.
On the north?
Seems north.
but it's north of the lake, north of the street.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just east of the Nate Park Center.
So, the park commission there's about $36,000 in the Nye Park account, and the park commission is recommending for your consideration to expend up to $15,000 for site cleanup and removal We'll get a hold of a scrapper to get the scrap out. That won't cost us anything, but there will be demolition and there will be,
Restoration cost.
yeah, so they're saying let's go up to 15,000 on this and clean that up. So we'll get a couple bids on it.
Is there anything there that the firemen would want to take down?
Who would want to take?
The firemen, the Maple Lake Fire Department?
I don't think they want to go in there.
Okay.
The house is in pretty tough shape, not worth selling for somebody to remove or give to somebody to remove.
Well, I think he's getting at is Commissioner Swetsky, sometimes.
Partly used for animal storage as well, isn't it?
Okay.
Okay.
There is one building on there, there is a tin pole shed that's in fairly decent condition, and we'll assess that, and most likely we'll come back with however we have to do to maybe do a public sale to have that taken and moved. And I've had contact with one landowner out there that was interested in that process. So I don't see why we'd need an outbuilding in the middle of a park somewhere.
Yeah, if you can't secure it well, it just becomes a liability anyhow.
Yes.
Yeah, it's too big to have, it's kind of a shelter for cross-country skiers and stuff, too.
Yeah,
isn't
we
it?
got the nature center for that.
Okay.
Bless you. I'll make a motion to expend the funds up to $15,000 from the Nate Park account for removal and cleanup activities.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Glyden. Is there a second? Second. Second by Commissioner Burrell.
And Mr. Chair, just for clarification, the Nye Park funds are not, I hate to say the word not taxpayer dollars, but they're not local levy dollars. Some of them were gifts for the park, for restoration projects in the park. We have a CRP contract out there on our prairie and on our direct hardwood seeding, so we get payments from the USDA, and that's why I can't say they're not taxpayers' dollars, because those are taxpayers' dollars. Those get put back in the Nye Park account because it's for that park, that restoration. That's how that funds continue, and that fund was first set up as the donor gave us $200,000 for the park, that the original donor of the park.
Is the original money all gone, Mark? And I guess what I'm asking is, do we have to ask Maple Lake, does Maple Lake own half of this money, or is this all our money?
The original money is gone.
So anything in that account now is 100% Wright County's?
Correct.
Okay. Originally, we had to own that with Maple Lake, so they had to agree to anything we spent out of there.
Yep.
Since that was the case, do we at least run by them what we're doing out there at all? And just,
I will tell them.
just to keep them in the loop, to let them
Mention
know?
it to them.
Courtesy.
Yeah.
And of course, this property is all ours, other property, we own 50/50
Yeah.
with them.
Yeah. But still, since we own 50/50, it'd be nice just to keep them in the loop, I would think.
Yep.
Okay.
And we work together on taking the trail out there and stuff like that, for example.
Yep,
the
trail
city
from
trail
town out
and-
to the park, to the border of the park.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Item number 3, Mr. Chair, for a number of years, as we continue to look at our park system, there's a couple pieces of land that just don't really fit into our system that great. So we have made offers in the past to the city of Clearwater to take over to Clearwater Wayside, which is off of County Road 75. The Park Commission is adamant that it remains parkland. Past years, the city said, yeah, we'll take it, but we're going to build a city hall on it, or something like that. So then that's always fell off. That conversation was re-engaged. They have a new city administrator there. He wants to keep it a park. He asked me about it, and I said, well, what type of facilities are you lacking there? They want to make improvements to it. And they want to do it as a joint venture. So I've had that conversation. I brought that conversation back to the Park Commission. We don't want to proceed too far ahead of time, so I'm asking for authorization to have the Parks Department continue conversations and document preparations with the City of Clearwater on a joint park improvement concept at Clearwater Wayside Park. They would like to develop a 3D archery range within the park and some picnic spaces. The Park Commission looked at a couple different 3D ranges at the meeting. Park Commission felt it'd be a good idea to continue those discussions and come back with information such as a draft concept, development draft concept, cost estimates, roles and responsibilities for the county and the city for review sometime, I think they told me March meeting. I responded to the city of Clearwater that the Park Commission looked favorably on it, and that I'd be bringing it here today for your considerations to authorize me or my staff, I guess it's me, to continue those discussions and those document drafts. So
No
that
action item, you're just taking, continuing discussions.
unless you tell me no.
Mr. Chair, I'll just make a motion that we authorize the Parks Department to continue the conversations with the city of Clearwater on that joint park improvement concept.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Burrell, second by Commissioner Delyden. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That way there's no ambiguity.
And the last item, as part of the July 15, 2014 Wright County Board of Commissioners regular meeting, y'all approved the Parks Department to complete an appraisal on an adjacent property to Robert Nye Park, which included a life estate as well as some acquisition. That appraisal has been completed, finally, and we have reviewed that at the Park Commission meeting, and the Park Commission is recommending to the county board not to proceed any further with that. There was just, the landowner thinks the land's worth more than the appraisal. We think we're too far apart on any negotiations. And then there was some parcel splits that they wanted to do prior to the sale that cut off the eastern part of the property from what we call the Havel piece, which is the east unit of Nye
Mr.
Park.
Chair, I'll make a motion, I'll try to get this done real quick.
Yeah.
Make a motion that we approve the Park Department recommendation and not continue the purchase acquisitions.
In discussion.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Burrell, second by Commissioner Hewson. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Then you're done.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Mark, one other item. Former Commissioner Eichelberg's term ends at the end of the year.
Yes, sir.
Did he have, because I talked to him one time, and does he have anybody that he's think that would like to be from the District 4 on that park board?
He didn't have anybody recommended yet to me. We've asked the commission to keep their eyes open for your district, and I was going to put a call into the municipalities within your district, see if they had anybody they knew of that would be.
Okay, I was just wondering if he came across somebody.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, why don't we post it on the county website, for people that are interested in District 4.
And
Oh, the Twitter thing, too.
Twitter thing, and Steve Botton, St. Michael on that.
But yeah,
Anyway.
it's a good idea to talk to those people too.
Okay,
All right.
I do believe it's 9:30.
at this time, we will recess the county board meeting and open up the public hearing on proposed changes to the fees for service schedule. Is this a Greg or a Brian? This
Yes,
is Lee
Mr.
Kelly.
Chair, I can speak to that item. In accordance with Minnesota Statute 373, we publish notice of the proposed fee schedule changes in our official paper for the duration needed. There are quite a few in multiple departments this year. Some are just cleanup or making consistency of language. At this time, I have not received any comments from the public in my office. There may be members of the public that are here today to speak to those changes, but at this time, I would recommend adopting changes following any comments the public may wish to make.
Okay, is there anybody from the public here that wishes to speak on this matter? Let the record reflect that there is anybody here that wants to speak on this. Comments on this, the part of doing this was to
Just
to
1 minute time.
have the fees in line with the expenditures that we do in here, which makes more sense. I mean, the cost of us providing the service should reflect
What it costs.
closer, well, at least closer to
Well,
that.
yeah, there's certain services we provide that it makes more sense for the user to pay for them than the taxpayer to subsidize them.
Absolutely, that's a good way of
You
phrasing it.
know, there's some things like roads that we just know that are certain things that, that's going to be a tax, and there's other things that we can charge users for them because only a small percentage of people use them, not the overwhelming majority,
So hopefully everybody out there got that. Commissioner Burrow, you had something to say?
Mr. Chair, and I did receive a call about the fees, and I think Lee can speak to this, but when we talked about the auditor, the changes to the auditor for the data file request, 3 cents per record or $50 minimum, these were fees that were charged by the IT department previously. If somebody wanted those records, they had to go to IT. Now they're going to be provided by the auditor and also the assessor, is that correctly, or?
Correct, yes.
And so it's really the same exact fee as it always has been. It's just the other departments will be able to access those records now. And so it'll be a better service to the public, but it's not a new fee. And I just want to make sure that people know that on those particular ones anyway. I know we have in the past where we've upped the parks, the camping fees a little bit, but this is not a new fee that we just pulled out of the air.
Now, firewood is being removed from the schedule. Is that because we're not required by law to include it in our schedule? I assume you're still going to sell firewood?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Swetsky, we're removing that from the fee schedule and putting it as a typical resale item so that we can do market each year with the market value. We split about 3,000 bundles a year is what STS splits for us. In the last few years with the big push on the Emerald Ash Borer, not bringing your own firewood, we haven't been able to keep up with STS on the amounts, we've had to buy it. And like this last year, the price rose in the middle of the season, so we had to reduce our bundle size from the vendor that we bought some from. This way we can say, okay, you're charging us $4 and we're gonna charge $5.
So you're not, that's a fee that's not required to be on here by statute.
Correct,
apparently.
it's not a fee that needs to
I
be.
mean, we don't have a
No.
candy bar or a can of pop on the fee list
Just-
either, for example.
Just a typical resale
But you
item.
sell them, okay.
And we sell candy bars and pops and ice cream and all that stuff.
Well, it does make more sense to have it reflect the actual market and whatever applicable laws are out there at the time.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like what they did is because it was on here, they had to reduce the bundle size, so we ended up spending more time to try and deal with it. So this makes a lot more sense.
Makes life simple.
Yeah, although I do like to have a candy bar on there, so we don't have to worry about candy bars going up in price.
But they do the same thing with candy bars. If they keep the price the same, then they make the candy bar smaller.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Well, either that or is what Mark takes a bite out of each one then? So that, is that what you mean by smaller?
Yeah, wrap it back up. Slice a piece off that. Okay, any other comments?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Mr. Kelly. So the genealogy search fee per hour, it's no change to the fee, just revising how it's listed. So I'm curious if we're still doing genealogical searches and where that would be. So it's just renaming it, that's it?
Correct. It is going to be a change just in how it's listed. The service, it's my understanding, will still be provided.
Okay.
It's just that, from what I understand, most of the staff research time in that department was related to that genealogy search.
Okay.
So any changes that we felt were to be made to the fee schedule, we should just reflect that in this public hearing.
Okay.
Okay, any other comments?
Just one question. Lee, the items that I was speaking to earlier, the data file requests, are those still going to be available at IT or not? IT is not going to do it anymore?
I think it will depend on what system the data is currently housed in, whether it's something the auditor would have or the assessor. IT will still provide what they are able to provide. Oftentimes, I'm told it's easier to get it from the departments rather than IT. As we've gotten more and more technical in the individual departments, the departments are able to answer these requests quicker and easier than the IT department could generate them.
It's just that I don't see that fee on here for IT, but that's...
But it's not being removed,
Because it's not
Charlie.
removed.
Yeah.
Correct.
And it's not being changed.
Possibly assist with a more complex request.
Okay, that's fine.
But it may still be there. If it was always there, then it still is there. You know,
Okay.
We're just going to where it belongs, and like Lee said, the auditor treasurer is better suited to take care of the customer's request than IT is, because they deal with it on a regular basis where IT doesn't.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion's been made by Commissioner
Second.
Glyden, second by Commissioner Houston. Any discussion? Hearing none, the public hearing is closed, and we will reopen the county board meeting. Good morning, Mr. Sean
We
Riley.
need to vote on
Well, we
that?
need to
Oh, yeah.
approve it, right?
Correct, we will need to officially approve the changes.
We do have to-
Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the fee changes as listed.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Swatsky, second by Commissioner Glyden. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Mark, could you hang out can you hang out just a little bit, or you got somewhere to go?
That's your desire, yes.
No, that's right, I'll email you, it's regarding your, it's regarding your minutes.
I'm good.
Okay.
Will you approve those minutes at the,
No, it's this last minutes here, do I think.
of the parks you're talking about? But don't you guys actually correct and making corrections of those out at the parks meetings?
I can correct it before the meeting.
That's right.
Okay.
I'll email you and let you know what it was.
I wasn't the judge.
Ready?
Are you sure you want to listen to Sean? Okay.
He doesn't, but
Hold on.
you told him to stay.
Morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, County Board. The item in front of you is a recommendation from our Planning Commission on a zoning amendment. The lion's share of the amendment involves sign regulations. Earlier this year, probably can go into more detail, essentially said local units of government cannot regulate content. We retained the services of John Baker to assist us in going through our existing sign ordinance and try to make it content neutral. We had a workshop with our Planning Commission on August 17th to go over the items with our Planning Commission before we had our public hearing. There is also some changes proposed to miscellaneous references in the zoning ordinance to update Uniform Building Code just to make language current, and then a few minor changes on pole shed size in a R2 zoning district, and then some minor screening and fencing amendments that came up. The minutes from the Planning Commission are also attached to the amendment that took place on November 12th. There was a unanimous recommendation from our Planning Commission on the proposed amendment that's in front of you. And of course, you're seeing a document that's showing existing in black, language to get rid of crossed out, and then new language in red. Some minor allowances in the sign changes beyond content. Billboards going from a conditional use permit to a permitted use if they meet all the requirements. Billboards going from a 50-foot road right-of-way setback to a 10-foot. Having our sign maximum be 35 square feet for conditional use permits in all zoning districts. Before we had a 30-foot and a 35. We felt it made sense just to go with 35. And then a 724.2 sign height going from a maximum of 10 feet above average grade to 15.
Here, Sean, I have a question for you. Under 24.4 in billboards, on the item 6, no billboard shall be located within a radius of 660 feet from any existing billboard. Is that consistent with state? Or
It
I thought the
is,
state was
right.
500.
No, it's consistent. And all of our billboard regulations are either consistent with state regulation.
Well, that is-
And their regulations are from roads and like intersections of roads. Our spacing is consistent with that. And it's not being proposed to be changed. You know, that's
Okay,
our
so this
current
is
number.
consistent with the
It's
state.
consistent, yes.
Any questions up here?
I guess I have a question relative to the Supreme Court and their actions, and you mentioned how that they can no longer dictate
tell the public where they are meeting, he'd have to put up his signs no more than 12 hours in advance and take them down pretty much right afterwards. Well, when your service is at 10 o'clock on a Sunday, that means you get to put them up at 10 o'clock on Saturday night. So no one ever knew where they were, and they were the smallest size possible that you could ever meet the ordinance. So the Supreme Court took that and said you can't differentiate based off of content.
So that's what it was.
Sounds like a religious freedom issue as well, but I just, and I guess if there's anything wrong with it, we can always correct it, but I just hope we haven't done anything here that prohibits somebody from making their political free speech statements that I know there's just a few people around that do that. They put out signs and they make their statement of the day, and sometimes they change it. I think there's one south of St. Michael that always did that, for example, and that's not even under this ordinance, because that's in the city of St. Michael, but I'd hate to see our ordinance impact somebody like that wants to make a statement.
Or between Buffalo and Montrose.
Yeah, that was going to say that one, yeah.
Yeah, those ones on 12 there, that person ought to be able to make a statement about the trail project, for example, and they shouldn't be denied that opportunity.
Correct.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'm just trying to find it. I think every parcel of property, we're giving exemption to every parcel of property up to 24 square feet. Is that right, Sean? For events? Yeah, we have identification signs. I mean, and not only that,
Yeah, it's 4 by 6.
during any time that when there's an election pending, it's basically free range on non-commercial signs. Anytime that there's an election, 46 days prior to 10 days after.
Yeah, Mr.
School
Chair,
district.
I guess if the planning commission supported it, I'm fine with it. I just think if we do have problems in the future, I think we may have to take into consideration if anybody feels as though they're being denied an opportunity to make their statement.
Well, that should always be the case.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the findings, to accept the findings and recommendation of the planning commission for the zoning amendments.
Well, no, there's more you were going to talk about yet?
Well, this is inclusive, everything in here are the recommended amendments. You had some questions about the signs.
But did you go through the rest of them already, or?
I noted the changes on the billboard.
I guess I'll second it then just to get you a second here.
Motion made by Commissioner Glyde, second by Commissioner Spotsky. Further discussion?
I don't know
Mr.
if
Chair.
Mike was here to speak on this, or? Mr. Olson either was here to talk about this or not. I don't know what issue.
Sir, are you here on this particular?
Here to observe, I was at the public hearing and.
But I can.
Oh, for the public hearing you were here for?
I can address,
Observe to the end of the.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, because I think maybe I can bring something to light that will address that too, because I think this, and I don't know if it showed up in our minutes, but it was something that we talked about, and the planning board was open to look into this in the future, and what is the dynamic signs.
Yeah, it's
We
in-
gotta
it's in the
stay,
minutes.
we gotta stay with current things. We didn't make the change now, but the planning board was open to that. As technology changes, I think the reason that they kind of watched the dynamic signs is we didn't want things out there flashing that would, blind people or whatever, but there are dynamic signs now that just will switch the message, and as those things evolve, we probably will be back looking at that in the future. Just let the board know that it was in the minutes, okay? So.
Yeah, and I guess I think, so nothing's changed with them here, and I think I'd be more cautious there just because, and quite frankly, I don't have a problem with dynamic signs, but for the fact that people shouldn't be driving down the road watching television or a commercial, for example, when they should be watching the road.
Right.
We don't want people texting and other things. We really don't want them watching a sign that's changing from this message to that message. If there's one message, they look once. If there's a message every 3 seconds, the only way that sign has any value is if these drivers keep watching that sign, and if they keep watching the sign to see all the different messages, they're not watching the road.
And when we do look at it, that would be all things that would have to be taken into account. How long it's going to be up, and whether it's flashy or simply changes the message and things, so. But we did keep the door open on that, we didn't slam it shut. And one other thing, Sean, on 606.3, is this just by removing less than 2,000 square feet, will that take care of, is this the issue where somebody had a 2,000-foot building, they wanted to add onto it, but they couldn't add on, they could move over 10 feet and build another 2,000-foot building, but they couldn't connect them, this will take care of that?
Yes, Mr. Chair, Commissioner.
and I'll be involved in this project too, so.
So this basically was just information for the whole board.
Yeah, well, we haven't
We haven't done.
done it and proceeded with this, and I would like clarifications, you know, get that figured out.
And Mr. Chair, and you had mentioned, Mark, though, the rebate thing,
Oh,
that
yes.
has to be put in here too.
It is, it is.
I didn't see it, where is it?
Yeah, it's on the first page, rebate submissions, and that wasn't in here, I mean, that wasn't on the original one. In the very last line of the first page. Rebate submission, assist the county completing forms necessary for available electrical utility
No,
rebates.
and is it something that they allot a certain amount of time for that, or is it just they're just gonna do it?
I think they'll help us, and when I talked to the engineer about it, he said, a lot of times, the contractor that would get the job will help on it, because some of there's two parts of this rebate. You gotta have a preliminary submission and then their final one. But the amount that we would get is based off of what we're taking out. And you really don't know what we're taking out until you take it out. You know, so if it's a 700 watt bulb and we're replacing it with a 45 watt LED bulb, there's an additional savings gained. And that has a lot to do with the rebate.
Okay.
So they're there to help us, which again, the original quote didn't have that. And if you looked at the information from the city of Buffalo for their electrical rebates, it's somewhat complex. Would you agree with that statement?
I would agree. There was a lot of criteria and factors.
A lot of questions asked at that
Yeah.
committee
You
meeting.
know, and again, some of it can be done ahead of time, but some of it has to be done as they replace them. So, and I think they'll put that in the specification. But anyway, I will be involved in this project from the get-go, meeting with the engineers, so.
So
Make sure that
Commissioner,
we get the best product.
Commissioner Glyden, what you're looking for is to go forward with this?
Yes, I'll make a motion to move ahead with sign a contract with EP Consulting Engineers.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion has been made by Commissioner Glyden, second by Commissioner Houston. Further discussion?
Yeah, just so that the coordinator gets some clarification on that revision of drawings and what the possible reason would be for it, so have an example for the future.
Okay.
And then just to let me know when they're going to be meeting, and I'll be joining them.
Okay, further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item B, Commissioner Glyden.
Yeah, I'd like to have a date for a negotiation committee of the whole to meet in regards to the ASME contract, just for the negotiating committee to bring the other board members up, and also to have the coordinator provide us with the request from ASME, or demands, or whatever they call it. Don't they provide a letter stating, as part of the negotiations, this is what we want, or something?
Mr. Chair, I would recommend, if we are going to talk about negotiations strategy, I would call it that we do this in a closed session.
Yes, that's what I prefer.
And
I think that's what it needs to be. I'm not sure we need to have the attorney there, in all honesty.
it may be good, just as he has been part of our committee. I think it might be beneficial to have him there, as he's kind of been our official note taker as well. I could certainly reach out and find a time that'll work for everyone, for us to discuss that, if that would be workable for the board.
Yeah, and the other thing is, I don't know too, if maybe potentially just having him on the phone, and that would reduce the
The cost.
30, 40-minute drive out and the 30, 40-minute drive back, and then it might just be 45 minutes on the phone.
Yeah,
A third of the cost then.
yeah, no, I agree. Then that's why I wasn't even sure we needed them there.
You know, that,
I just thought it would be good for the other three board members who weren't part of the negotiation, just to hear where we're at, to see what ASME is requesting. And is it true that they provide us with
at meetings,
A list of requests.
at meetings, they give us a sheet, and we have stuff written down with, yeah.
oh, I thought in the beginning they provide you with a list of demands.
Yeah, right off the very bat, and then those things get whittled down as time goes on,
Okay, so maybe the last one, if you could provide that to the other board members, just so that we have a chance to look at it. Then just to see if we can put our heads together to, and that's why I was thinking maybe we don't need the attorney.
Oh, but I agree with Commissioner Swasky, it'd be good to have him on the phone, instead of him drive out here, try to find a phone time.
Right.
Yeah, no,
Just in case one of us has got a question,
Right.
get it answered.
Or are you concerned about a commissioner saying something he shouldn't?
Well, it's closed session, you can say anything you want.
He's not paying attention.
I heard you.
Mr.
So the gist of this is that Coordinator Kelly will talk with the attorney and then get back with us and find a time that's, everybody can get together.
Yes, that was going to be kind of my question, logistically, knowing we don't have a meeting next week, if we were going to schedule something, I was kind of curious if there was a time constraint, if we could still do this later in December.
No, December, I won't be here
We don't have nothing set up with those guys right now at all.
it could be after the first of the year.
After the first of the year.
Yeah,
No problem.
no, I just want to get it on the radar and,
Okay.
so realize this is a bad time of year. So, no, after the first of the year is fine
Good time of the
too.
year.
I'm talking about,
Busy.
yeah, it's a busy availability time.
So you'll be looking for something with the attorney for after the first of the year sometime, and
Yeah, I'll find a time that works and bring it
Maybe
to a
like
board meeting. and
10:30 on the
schedule it.
second Tuesday, or the 10:30 on the third Tuesday would be good times.
fair enough?
Yeah, I just thought that, since nothing's been happening lately, that maybe it could be a good time to discuss, to see if us other three commissioners that aren't on that negotiating committee can come up with a better idea.
Well, just keep in mind, the idea we currently have was created by all five of us.
I know.
Yes, it was. Okay, next item, advisory committee, advisory board update, Commissioner Burrell, we're gonna let you go first this
The
time.
only thing that I had last week was River Rider, and Pat can chime in on this too, but we are looking to be able to close things out. We had the final audit came in, it was another no-change audit, they said everything went real good. And the one thing that Sherburne did ask us is, we had talked about who's gonna maintain the records, and I said I thought maybe we could find a place in the old jail here, so that's something that we'd have to talk about at some point in the future, so.
Yeah, I think
Plenty of room.
They're gonna
Yeah.
keep the records until everything, we still have 2 people that are on unemployment yet, and they're going to set money aside for the maximum, whether they use it or not, just in order to close things out. Otherwise, it would continue on for months yet. You know.
And then there's an approximately $19,000 refund of some sort that we're getting from the IRS
A gas tax,
that Shelley,
fuel tax.
we kind of asked him, what is the timeline on this? Because if it's going to be months and months and months and months, we'll just shut things down now and figure about what to do with it when it comes back. He was hopeful it would be here late December or very early January, so we thought maybe it makes sense not to disperse the things until that comes in then. But I don't have it with me up here, but if anybody wants to see it, I do kind of have what's pretty much a final closeout audit. There's $4,000 that is projected for unemployment and any final bill for the attorney to do the final close-up that we have estimated in one area. And aside from that, that's really the only estimate in there. And then we have that IRS number plugged in as well. And I presume that's going to be the number we think, unless for some reason that check would come in slightly different than that. So back there, I do have a final,
Wasn't it in the 400,000?
it's approximately $450,000.
And then 2/3?
2/3 is ours, slightly more than that actually, because we get money for the buses first. That was about, was that around
60, I think.
No, it wasn't that much, Charlie. Was it 20-something? I don't know. We get that, we get money that's all ours first, say about 20 grand, whatever the cost of the buses were from Trailblazer paid us for them. And then we split the balance, 2/3, 1/3. So I'd be happy to share with, that audit with anybody back there.
That's going good though.
Anything else?
That's it.
No, I don't have anything.
Nothing for me this week. Commissioner Sawatsky.
Nothing to report on, but I'm going to bring this up as long as it's on my mind and Charlie's here, so he can fix it at the meeting. But page 2 of this, these planning commission minutes?
Yeah.
Look at the very bottom of that. It looks like Kreiser made the motion to approve the ordinance as I read that. See below, Mo closed the public hearing, and then it says Kreiser recommend approval of the ordinance. Bravender seconded, so
What does S stand for?
that's just
It's an alphabet.
alphabetical. It comes after R,
Oh,
before
okay.
T.
Okay.
You see how that
I
was?
wasn't paying attention. Makes sense now.
See that, Charlie? It says Kreiser didn't recommend approval, and then Bravender seconded, so.
And really, he's not a board member.
No, so I'm.
Somebody had to.
Somebody else should say, motion.
We'll correct that.
So just when you do the minutes, just remember to correct that, that's all.
Okay.
Okay.
Good point.
Anything else? Commissioner Houston.
I have nothing.
All right.
Did you have something?
That being said, we stand adjourned at 10:10.